Hey everyone, welcome to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 75. Today, we are just having an open forum conversation, and the topic is going to be the variation of pitchers that we have in the facility, starting from our low level to mid level to high level athletes. We're just going to kind of go over the basis of how these kids train and give you a little bit of insight into all three brackets that we have here. So I'll just let you guys go in right ahead, and then wherever you guys feel like you want to start, we can work top down, bottom up. Doesn't really matter.
I think for bottom up, and
Okay.
then Dan is the more, I guess, global person. I have a very small population I work with these days, so I'm going to let him kind of shoot here.
Yeah, say I guess you have two categories of the athlete who shows up at their door. We have the one that's completely healthy, ready to rock, and then again, low level, mid level, high level. We have multiple metrics as far as like what we would put you into each of those buckets. The easy one is just to talk about velocity. Majority of our younger guys, majority of our guys who aren't throwing anywhere near as hard as we think they're capable of, they're going to fall into that first bucket, and it's usually really straightforward. You need to gain weight. The average freshman weighs 120 to 140 pounds. You're just literally, your car is so small that you can't put
driving a Fiat.
Yeah, you can't even put an engine in it to get the horsepower that we want. So that one's pretty straightforward. I think a lot of times those guys, and this is kind of a funny, it's like a reverse red flag. My arm never gets sore. It's like, so you don't throw hard enough for your arm to bug you, which is kind of mean, but it's unfortunately the truth. So a lot of times those guys, like, we're hitting big stuff. We need to be bigger, we need to be stronger, we need to be more explosive. Mechanically, it's usually almost always lower half-wise is not synced up with upper half-wise, or I'm trying to force my body to do something it's not physically capable of. Yeah. The most common one, you need to use your legs more, so kids are literally jumping down the mound. So that half, the lower half, that's really, really easy. The injured athlete that comes into our door from a pitching standpoint, I would still put them on the low level, whether they're a high level injured guy or not. We put them to that first area because, and we're starting to build out almost a parallel path where, like, these guys need a lot of attention. I will reach out to orthos, to PTs, to chiros, parents, get as much information. I was on a phone call earlier today with an athletic trainer. Get as much information as possible that we can make sure we're all on the same page. It's going to take a village to get that athlete back to 100%. And yeah, those low-level athletes, I mean, probably be the 70 to 80 miles an hour. Is that fair? Like 70s, low 80s in that range?
Low 80s high school is okay. Like, I would say low level would be low to mid 70s. Low to mid 70s, yeah.
So somewhere in that range. So you're the mid-range athlete, you're probably in the upper 70s into the low 80s, maybe 85. A lot of times they have a few of those physical boxes checked. They're just, like, I guess more common one is mobility is atrocious. Yeah. Their hip flexibility, their spine range of motion, their shoulder range of motion is just not the greatest, and it's because I either went all in on skill development and I just do pitching lessons, or I was like a football player or a basketball player, and the lifting routines, I was working out, but it wasn't balanced with the flexibility and mobility that's required for our pitchers. So that athlete there is probably more commonly, it's a little more specific. Okay, what area of our body do we need to improve range of motion and control? And then that athlete too, like, mechanical efficiency starts to matter. Because you've already, like, you throw hard enough, you generate enough force to get into the 80s, which is really is good. But to optimize that and be able to do it consistently, we do need to then almost like, it's like a 50-50 of like a physical and skill development, whereas that low-level athlete, it's like a 90-10. And so like 90% is physical development, 10% is doing all of your mechanical work, where this athlete falls into that like 50-50. And again, I think mechanically, most common ones is doing a really poor job of loading the back hip and getting into that hinge. Really poor job of throwing the brakes on the front side, whether they're overstriding, their stride is incorrect as far as direction. And then I think the other is, and this is really, really common, is spine mobility. They struggle staying closed, and so they fly open. And so they can't dissociate as their hips go down the mound. They can't stay stacked and closed with their upper body. And so they either cheat with their arm, which makes their arm action really inefficient, or they cheat with their glove, where they're yanking and flying down the mound. And you see that with I'll typically talk about pitch design. Those guys are missing either north and south excessively, like way up in the zone or spiking, or they're missing not like truly east and west, but almost tilted, where they're missing really, so a right-hand pitcher, they're missing really high up and in, or they're yanking and cutting fastballs into left-hand batter's box. Yeah. And it's because they're using the momentum of their arms to cheat the lack of mobility of their upper body, and so then we see that those movement patterns as far as their pitches go.
Yeah. And so now just take it from a step of when a high level athlete kind of walks into the facility, and where do we go from here?
Before I get into that, I think I kind of want to highlight our systems, and I tweeted about the other day, like, great systems can accommodate all these different levels.
Yes, true.
So like no matter who walks in that door, like we are ready for them, and we have a plan for them, and
they can
that,
work in harmony anyway.
Exactly. And then the beauty is, the magic is when you take the guy and you move him to mid, and you take the mid, you move him to high, you take the high, you keep him healthy and manage him the right way. So I think I do want to kind of highlight that, like,
sure.
Our systems aren't necessarily built for one of these populations. It encompasses all these populations, and we do a really good job of kind of moving guys through.
And it lends to that idea of individualization. I think that's a buzzword right now. It's been a buzzword for probably the last 10 years. I've redefined my way of thinking of individualization. I used to think individualization means every athlete has this like snowflake type workout routine and throwing routine. I don't think that's the case. Individualization in this building means we're screening you, we're testing you, we're capturing data, and then we're making sure the plan that you're doing is what's best for you.
Yes.
And so, again, there could be 10 pitchers all doing the exact same stuff, but we've screened them and said, this for you as an individual is what's best for you. And I think that with some of our older athletes, some of the OGs that they used to be with old Dan, who's like individualization, everybody needs to have these handwritten perfectly just for NOAA workouts, and that's not the case anymore. It's based on our objective data and our screens, we're going to give you a routine that's going to help you reach your full potential.
Yeah.
So on that high level thing, and I know we've talked about it recently, but the routine they're on and the level of oversight they get, and it's way more than just arm care and strength training. Okay, the arm care and strength training is actually fairly similar for a high level guy than it would be. We put them in the buckets, based on their assessment, all the good stuff and where they're at. But I think it's more so just the management side of things. Like they need to be handled differently. They need help with recruiting. They need help with advisors. I spend most of my morning kind of connecting dots for them. Like that's kind of my job here is to really talk to their agent about how they did. I went to a game yesterday. I called his agent this morning. Here's how he did. Here's how many scouts were there. Like that kind of stuff. What do you think he needs to work on? They ask stuff like that because they need to communicate out to their people. Working with the medical side of things, and then Dan and I kind of tag team that. But like, does he need this? We sent a guy to an ortho a few weeks ago, not because he was hurt, because he might be a high draft pick, and we need to make sure he was clean before he started to get to the medical side of things. Making sure that we're giving them everything they need. The ultra high level guy probably just doesn't need a good strength programming. Like we need to kind of dig a little deeper into him because we got to make sure that we're providing physically between all of our different systems some really specific things that person needs to do because they just don't need strength any. Like if you walk in this building and you throw 72 miles an hour and you weigh 140 pounds, this isn't scientific. We need to just go after strength. If you walk into this building and you're a 18-year-old high school senior and you throw 95 miles per hour, that's a whole different ballgame. You're already the elite of the elite. We need to get really, really granular with our approach with that athlete, and so we can give him the little teeny things that's just going to move his needle a little bit. His needle's never going to move much further. We have to find little teeny ways, and then make sure he's managed properly as far as like the amount of tournaments he's doing, the amount of events he's doing. The pitch progression at the beginning of the spring is something that we really do with our high-level guys to ensure that they're not going to get hurt, and so those are the kind of really fine details that we have to tackle with those upper echelon of guys.
Absolutely. I think with the high level guys, it's also the consistency of the oversight from staff across the board. So a normal athlete comes in this building, we'll choose the force plates for example. They'll get their force plates tested. They'll jump on the force plates every single time they come in, and then every 4 weeks we look at their force plate data.
Required.
High level guy, we're going to look at their force plates probably weekly, where we need to see the fluctuations because a little bit of fatigue, 1 degree here, 1 mile an hour there, whatever it may be, like that, it has a huge ripple effect and has a huge impact on what they're doing on the field. So oversight across the board from our staff is much more often for these athletes because again, you got a 15 to 18-year-old in a Ferrari. We got to make sure they know what they're doing in that Ferrari because they can go fast, they can have fun, they can do all those things, and everybody wants that Ferrari on their field and competing for them. So again, that high level athlete I think is something that we have started to really turn into a spot where guys come here because of how well we've managed high level arms.
100%.
And a lot of it goes unspoken.
And the relationship side of things, I think, is something we can't quantify, so we don't talk about it a lot. But like Like, I know the staff kind of laughs at me if I'm in here late and my phone just starts blowing up when they get out of they're practicing their games, but they want someone to talk to, and they want someone to understand what they're going through. And I think we've had so many high level guys now, we understand those pain points that they have. It's like, my coach thinks I'm being selfish because I went and did my warm up routine. And I know that sounds stupid, and both of you just rolled your eyes, but that happens all the time. I had a kid pull himself out of a game at 96 pitches last week, and his coach said under his breath, and the teammates heard, like, I want my pitcher to want it. I'm like, dude, he just threw 96 pitches for you. He's not going back out there. He made the adult decision to say, I'm not going back out there, Yeah. But that's the kind of battles we fight, and they just want someone to talk to a lot. They just want someone to understand, like, hey, I have to, I just got diminished because I threw 96 pitches and struck out 16 guys, But, that's the world we're living in sometimes.
And this, I don't know, this might be off topic, but where is that disconnect from high level athlete to baseball coach? Like, why is that disconnect? I've never understood. Why is that even a thing?
Education and ego. Not educated and they have a big ego.
It just doesn't.
I think it's also under the age of 18. You haven't had many instances of people truly, truly acting in their own interest. Because you have your parents taking care of you, your family taking care of you. Once you get to,
nobody's trying to use you to win for themselves.
Exactly. Like, okay, you haven't had, like, a good example of this is employers and employees. The nature of the beast is the employer is using their employees to get tasks and things done. As you experience more jobs, you have some really good employers who have strong relationships and take care of people and do the right things, and you have really bad employers who don't tell you you're getting fired until you go to scan in your barcode and you can't even get in the damn building. Like, they're literally using you. So you don't have the experience to know that coach is always acting in their own self-interest. No matter what they're saying, they need to win ball games. Yeah. And if they want to keep their job, if they want to keep the prestige and credibility within their area, but you got to win. And the coaches that have big egos usually have a lot of wins under their belts, but they also have a long line of athletes that have gotten burned along the way.
So true.
So.
Last little topic before we sign off about the thing, I want to kind of talk about the environmental piece. I know it kind of goes a little bit unsaid a lot of the times. I know we touched on it before in a little bit of podcast, but I want to make sure that you guys, we understand.
Tito, real quick, we're recording.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
No. Here, go ahead and sneak right out. We'll re-edit. We'll start right back over.
I want to talk about the environment piece. So we have 3 stages of athlete, right? And we talk about, but when I used to train, when you guys used to train, the high level kids usually hung out with the high level kids. It was not a cool thing to do to hang out with a kid that only threw 80. But in this building, it seems to be the complete opposite. It seems kids are actually like encouraging, and it's not by the coaches, it's by themselves and their peers to go up and help other kids that don't understand the same knowledge. And this question might sound, but like, was that an idea you guys had? Obviously, yes, but like, did you think it would grow into what it is now?
Definitely an idea. I would say I failed at that idea, in my previous venture of travel organization, but that was the concept, that everyone would play together. I think it's just more so the personality of everyone in here, and it's very accommodating, and everyone wants to get better. And when a guy PRs at 80, it's the same vibe as a guy that PRs at 90.
Even better. It's crazy.
And so it's more so I'll chalk that up to the staff and really the kind of the environment they've created and valuing every athlete that walks in this building. It's something I miss, not being on the floor so much anymore. And like I said, I only have the capacity for a small group, and we've set some structure for that. But yeah, I think our staff's incredible at bringing that out of guys. So.
This is going to be a little bit of a brag, but it's something completely intentional.
Yeah,
and it's intentional on my part because of knowing the effect of having high level athletes and how it can make everybody else better. Mm-hmm. I think it's something that we instill in those athletes, saying like, you owe it to these players who are coming up, like, to help them and guide them and be that example and work hard and live out all the things that we expect you to live out. And I think the last piece to the staff is the staff across the board. None of us were like dudes.
No, yeah,
right?
that's true.
So all of us related a lot more with the guys like, oh man, I want to be like that guy, versus like, oh, I used to play in the big leagues and I did this, and I like there is no ego from us as a staff because all of us really sucked. In the grand scheme of things, right? Everyone sucks at baseball, but I think that is why we fight so hard and relate so well with those athletes who are grinding to get up to the top level, where the guys who are high level arms, we all relate with them, we do a good job. It's easy to have a good relationship with those guys because everything's right with the world, right? And so I think as a staff as a whole, all of us were the guys that had, and girls, all our coaches across the board had obstacles and setbacks and things that we were like, man, I wish there was a coach who could help me with this. And so I think that's why on the flip side is we allow them to engage and we allow them to get to know each other. And I guess the last piece from an environmental standpoint, it's the weight.
For sure.
In a one-on-one lesson, in a practice. So one-on-one, it's just you and a coach. In a practice, it's mass. So it's like 10, 15, 20 kids. Yeah. And so the weight room, and I guess this is intentional, right? We don't kick kids out of the facility. No. You want to be in the weight room, and as long as you're doing what you need, that's true. As long as you're doing what you need to do.
Summer might be a lot.
Yes, it is. The weight room is an area that allows you to build community.
Yes.
Whereas the cages, not so much because you're focusing on your skill. With your teams, not so much.
What is it? It's like what I'm trying to correlate. It's like a team struggle thing. It's like we're all struggling together.
I think it's because now you dive a little bit deeper. The reason is in the weight room because we individualize the programming. No matter who you are, you're struggling through your workout.
Yeah.
Like there is no easy workout. So if you on the bump and I'm throwing 90 and you're throwing 81, it's like, oh, look how Dan's doing great over there. But you and I are both in the squat rack and I'm back squatting and you're gobble squatting. We're both getting our butts kicked. Like it's a level playing field in the weight room, and you have the time during your rest sets to have conversations and connect, and that is something that we encourage as far as KPI goes.
Yeah. Cool. All right, thank you guys very much for listening to Talking Points with KPI, episode number 75. Once again, we were talking about the 3 spectrums of athlete that we have, low, mid, to high. If you guys want to get any more information, please go subscribe to the YouTube at Kinetic Performance Institute, and please watch all of our KPI podcasts. And then please go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And then please go subscribe to the YouTube at Kinetic Performance Institute. Thank you guys very much for listening. Have a great day.